Okay, now I am going to rehearse the information, the essential content associated with the two paradigms called Romanticism and Existentialism. They do have some things in common, so we're going to try to figure out what makes them different. Neither school attends to any real truth that is constant and unchanging. This is going to be similar with the rest of the paradigms. So from now on, I probably won't even put truth on here. That discussion really only is pertinent when we're discussing perennialism and essentialism. So looking at the content or the curriculum for the Romanticist teacher, it has everything to do with student interests and passions. And for the existentialists, they are focused on allowing the student to choose topics that are laid out by the teacher. So the topics that are given as choices are probably more focused than the topics over here for the Romanticist teacher. Um, let's see, what else? The role of the student or the role of the teacher for Romanticism, she is a facilitator and a guide, a resource and a guide. This is the picture of the Helen Keller miracle worker. And this was such a great example because Annie simply followed Helen around and offered herself as a resource or a guide. The role of the teacher for existentialism is a facilitator, which is similar to a resource and a guide, but the teacher lays out these topics and then questions, probes, and challenges the student. So this is different. The question is the question mark, probe like a probe in outer space, a space probe. And then the challenge is this is a little guy lifting weights. So this, again, to me, it's a little bit more focused than a romanticist teacher. The role of the student is to be curious and to take responsibility for his or her learning. The role of the student for existentialism is that you define yourself through the choices that you make. And if you don't choose, then you allow yourself to be defined by others. This is the early 1800s, I believe, and it was a response to the overly intellectualized Age of Enlightenment in Europe. The existentialists, it's a post World War type of paradigm where they are a little bit more pessimistic in nature, even though they do focus in on the individual. It's sort of a resistance to the status quo. So this one is, when you do think about like the romantic, this one is more looking back and looking at what we used to have, and this one is looking forward and trying to cope with some of the unfortunate situations in the world. But definitely both have a focus on the individual. So for the goal of education for the Romanticist teacher is fulfillment. We are focused in on that individual. The fulfillment, school is personally meaningful, is the little acronym to help you, the little four-letter code, if you will, to help you remember the social, intellectual, physical, and moral. You want your focus, if you were a Romanticist teacher, is to help your students experience that sense of fulfillment in all of these realms, socially, intellectually, physically, and morally. For the existentialist, they are focused, their goal is that students need to come to their own understanding. So I've had the little footprints with the light bulb at the end. Anyway, for existentialism, there seems to be more of an urgency about helping the individual survive and choose and define him or herself in the world. And these two are very similar. They go along with the truth that only the fulfillment of the individual matters, and there's focus only in the existence of the individual. To me, those were both very, very similar, and they sort of go against this idea of there being a constant and unchanging truth. I totally screwed those up. Anyway, you get the gist, and I hope this helps you study and get ready for your ultimate quiz in philosophy.